As you guys probably know by the last video, we have around 70 days until we take our boat to the Caribbean. This is gonna be such a crazy journey and we are running against the clock. So we need to take the boat out of the shed to be able to install keel and rudders, but in order to do that, there are a few jobs that we would prefer to do inside the shed. So this week, we're gonna put some work together that is gonna be easier to do inside the shed. Let's get to work.
We are a family of 3 building our own aluminum sailboat after the boat yard that was building it went bankrupt.
We did it, finally! That's really scary, but it's a win.
Welcome to Odd Life Crafting. Subscribe and join us on this crazy adventure.
That's so cool. These are all the glass for the roof of the boat. And that's a huge project that I hope I measured right. And that's the next step, because before we do any installation, I need to guarantee that all this actually fits, because I did the measurement myself. An aluminum boat, when you weld, it deforms. So you cannot just follow the 3D model. You need to measure one by one to guarantee there are like 1 or 2 millimeters difference in between them. And it's scary because I've never done that in my life. I did a few different methods. I'm not sure if we showed you yet that. If we didn't, we're gonna show you right now, because that was a mission.
But before we show you how complicated it was to get the templates done, I want to take a minute to thank the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark. One thing about our lifestyle is that we are always traveling. We have been living abroad for many years, we are always working, and we are always connecting to internet from different places like hotels, airports, cafes, Airbnbs, you name it. Basically, we are connected to a lot of Wi-Fi connections that are not ours. And that's one of the reasons we use Surfshark VPN. A VPN gives us an extra layer of security by encrypting our internet connection and hiding our IP address, making what we do online much harder to track. Think of a VPN like the difference between living in a busy marina with people passing by your boat all day or being anchored in a quiet bay. You're still living your life, but with an extra layer of privacy. And when so much of our work and honestly our lives happen online, that's something that we really appreciate. There is also a really simple Surfshark feature that we really like, the Clean Web. It can block ads and trackers while you are browsing, which makes the internet a little less annoying to use. So if you travel a lot, work online, or just want some extra privacy while connected to the internet, go to surfshark.com/oddlifecrafting or use the code oddlifecrafting at the checkout and get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN.
I have good news today. I just ordered the glazing for the deck saloon. It feels amazing. I mean, if you see the picture of our boat, you will understand that the deck saloon is a huge part of the design, and we have many windows, and that means it's an important decision, and it's a really hard one, because there are so many different ways we could go about the deck saloon, and it took us literally more than 2 years to make a final decision, but I made it. So now, before I share with you exactly what kind of glazing we're gonna have, I'm gonna just do a simple task. I need to draw the dimension of each one of the glasses so I can send to the manufacturer and they can start producing, because the leading time on that's like 4.5–5 months. So that means I need to hurry up. And for that, I could do in a few different ways. I can just get the design. So the idea is I open up the 3D model of the boat and I measure on the 3D model and I measure on the boat and see if there is any difference. It's important to double check and get 2D dimensions. That's what I have here. The problem is we're talking about an aluminum boat that when you build the boat, it shrinks, it deforms, it bends. And sometimes that's not the most precise way of giving a template for windows. We decide to do on paper. Not really paper, this is like almost a cardboard, it's a really thick paper. So that means this can be straight enough and I can draw on the boat the dimension of each one of the frames, and then I can put that on an envelope and send to the UK. It's gonna be cheaper, and I can compare that to the actual numbers from the design and make sure that I get it right, because if I do it wrong, it's on me, it's not on the manufacturer. They won't send me another glass because it doesn't fit, because I did the measurement wrong. I could hire them to do it, but then they need to come from the UK and then, you know, it will cost some money. So we decide to go actually with glass from Trend. Trend is one of the companies from Lumor. So Lumor do the hatches and Trend do the glazing, and they are really good at what they do, but I need to be good at what I do. Also, I need to draw this right, otherwise they cannot do a good job if the measurement is wrong. Fingers crossed. So here's another attempt of a template. So I decided to do this way. And the line that matters is this line. And the edges I can just scribe, just go far on the paper, on the table, and then I can get the measurements. It's really hard to commit to one of the templates, so I'm gonna, at least on this long window that has different shape, I'm gonna try to cut a template out of the measurements from the computer. So I think now I finally got to the sweet spot of the perfect template. So the template itself is the size of the glass, not the size of the window. So there is the gap for the Sikaflex, for the expansion gap, but I left some little parts with the dimension of the frame to hold in position. So in this way, I can see where it's too tight and where it's not too tight, because what I need from that is that the Sika expansion gap needs to be at least 10 millimeters. So first let's try if everywhere around goes at least what's the minimum necessary. So it goes in easy. Yep. Goes in tight. I need 1 millimeter here. 1 millimeter there. Goes in easily. Too easy. Easy. So now I can get a pen and just mark exactly where I want to change, and then I do the lines and I do the measurements. I transfer to the computer and I send to Trent. So I got the measurements from the last template and the fixings, and I transcribed to a fresh new sheet of plywood, and I cut it again just to make sure it fits and that my way of thinking and fixing the mistakes work. It's just perfect. Every side has 12 millimeters of gap for dilatation. So these pieces of aluminum are all 12 millimeters thick, and that means the space in between the frame and the glass, it's even everywhere, and is exactly how I want it, 12 millimeters. So that's it. I just need to do that another, I don't know, 8 times. Now that you know everything about the process of measuring the windows, it's time to put them in place, a dry fit, just to guarantee that they fit. Otherwise I'm in trouble and I need to order new glass again. Hopefully that won't happen. So let's do that.
Are you nervous?
I'm really nervous, to be honest.
I know that.
Yeah, really nervous. Fingers crossed 10 times now. Because if this doesn't fit, it's a huge amount of money that we waste, because this was impressively expensive.
And it's double glazed, right?
Yeah, that's laminated, yeah. We're pretty good, actually. One less problem. I mean, this was the easy one. This was all machined, precisely machined. If this was wrong, then the entire rest, I don't even need to check that everything was wrong. Let's think about the big ones now. That's really scary, but the first one, I think it's a win. I want to see from the inside. Can you vote for me? Come with me. That's the feeling of having a glass in place. That's awesome. So, as you can tell, the ceramic paint is sticking out too much here, and the reason for that is, as I said, it's too low. It's gonna go up a little bit, and as you can tell, the ceramic is already showing up here, and the reason for that is because I want to have a wood trim, and I want the wood trim to be protected by the ceramic paint, and that means this space is gonna be divided. That if you add this plus this divided by 2, that's the thickness, and I think my math was like 10 millimeters, and then that's the space I have for the finishing of plywood, because otherwise it won't protect from the sun, and I want the plywood not to be, you know, UV damage. That's great news. My measurements are literally perfect. By the way, I need to thank so much Rafa from Renew Boats in Brazil, that is literally the best guy to install any window or hatch in the entire country of Brazil. He's really good at what he does, and he's a really great friend of ours. And I call him, you have no idea the amount of times in order to get the right tips to do this properly, the measurements, because without the measurements right, the project will be ruined. And I'm like, I'm gonna take the time and I'm going to do a perfect measurement, and I'm really happy with the result, to be honest. It's everywhere pretty much the same measurement, and that's awesome. That's really, really exciting. Thank you, Rafa. I really appreciate it.
Nowadays, Rafa uses a machine to do that, like a laser thing.
Like a scanner.
A scanner.
But we don't have the scanner here.
In the past, he used to do this manually, so he has all the tips.
The last one, and please don't tell me bad news, because so far we're doing great.
Good.
Yeah, let's not jinxy. I don't know how to say that. Yeah, that's gonna be perfect. That is just literally perfect. We were aiming on 12 millimeters gap on each one of the sides. That means half-inch gap for dilatation, for the Sikaflex and the window to move. To expand. That's my professor. Now she's back and my English is gonna get better. So we need the expansion gap of 12 millimeters, half-inch on each side, but we could have all the way down to 10. 10 is the minimum that we can do it by Sikaflex.
We got it!
We got all within 12 and a half. The only one that we have 2 millimeters extra is the one on the front window. That one we didn't do by measurement, we did by the design because it's really square and we thought it was close enough. And that one we have 2 millimeters extra in each side, what's not a problem at all.
Extra than don't have it.
No, extra is no problem. The problem is that if we have less than that, then it's a problem, because we would be less than 10 millimeters. We are not even close, so yeah. That was a win. That's so awesome.
Someone's gonna sleep well today.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
I'm just working on a project that it's been a long time that we've been thinking about the solution for this problem, and now we are finally actually doing it. So when we started designing this boat 3 years ago, we always thought we're gonna have double glass because we want a boat that has less condensation on the glass, and also we want a boat that is less hot inside, and if we have double glass, it's less hot inside. So there was no decision to be made. We knew we want to have a double glass deck saloon. But of course, after years talking to a lot of people that have more experience than we have, we kind of changed our minds. One of the persons that made us change our minds really quick was the owner of Alubat. Alubat is a boatyard in France that builds a boat that's in a way really similar to the boat we are building. It's called OVNI 430, and we really like the OVNI line of boats. And the cool thing is that Luke, the owner of Alubat and CEO of Alubat, he actually, I believe he was one of the clients of Alubat in the past. He lived on a Alubat for 10 years going around the world, and then with all his experience he came and bought the boatyard and started modernizing, I would say, the boatyard. And from his experience, he says if you go to the cold weather, only cold weather, double glass is good because it just works. But if you go to cold weather and also warm weather, there's a lot of times that the seal, the gas between both layers, because you have a gas and another glass, if you break the seal, condensation comes in between both pieces of glass. And in his opinion, when you go to cold weather and warm weather, that happens really often. He had that problem on his own boat, so he decided from now on they don't do double glazing. They just have a single glass, and then they build a second layer on the inside on the cabinetry. Not cabinetry, but on the wall panels, they put an acrylic. So when you have a glass, a space and an acrylic, and then you can have a pinhole on the bottom of this acrylic. That means you can ventilate between both layers of glazing, and in this way there is no condensation and there is no seal to be broken, and it's just the same principle as an airplane. If you go to an airplane, you can see that on the bottom of the little porthole you see a pinhole, and that's for the space between the acrylic and, I would say, the glass outside of the airplane or wherever they use. It can breathe, and that means it won't have any condensation inside. And that's the principle we want to use, but of course there's always a but. When we built the hull of the boat, we thought we were gonna have double glazing, so we left a really deep frame for the glass to sit in, because we are gonna have glass, space, glass, and that means really thick glass. And now that we're gonna go with a single glass, there is way too much thickness on the frame, and that means the Sikaflex would be way too thick, and that can crack also. It can flex too much and break the seal, and that would be terrible. So we decided that we wanted to have a spacer between the frame and the glass to consume some of the space. So then we thought, let's just glue the frame in place, and for that we can use Sika Power 880 instead of Sikaflex, because Sika Power is meant to structural glue two pieces of metal together. So this kind of glue is used, for example, on the automotive industry, like for example the Land Rover, that is tack weld and glued in place a lot of the plates. So in our case, we decided we don't want to do like in the car industry, that is tack weld and glue. We want to glue and bolt the frame in position. And the reason for that is not because we don't trust the glue, is because we want to guarantee that the frame is aligned, is a really long. So this one, for example, is 1.3 meters long, this bar, and we want to make sure that it's not like this. We want to make sure that it's straight, and by having a lot of bolts, we can tighten more or less each one of them to guarantee a perfect alignment, and in this way it's going to be much easier once we install the glass in place.
So this is a test.
Yes, so this is a test. It's really good actually. I really like the solution. Right now it's not glue yet, it's just bolted in place, but now let's get to work because we have a lot to do.
I think you're gonna see the whole process now. What do you think?
Yeah, the whole process.
The windows open wider, black coffee on the stove. There's nowhere left to hide now beneath the yellow moon. The dust is dancing slowly across the wooden floor. A moment and holy is knocking at my door. Better let it in. Better let it in. Better let it in. The grass is tall and swaying like waves upon the sea. I hear the children playing, and you are here with me. Better let it be. Better let it be.
So now that we have all the spacers done, it's time to glue them in place. That's the most important thing. There will be a lot of steps from now on, and it's really important for us to be really precise on what we do, because there's no way back. Once we glue that with Sika Power, so big component epoxy glue, that is going to be really tricky to take that out if we do it anything wrong, but we're going to do it right. But we just need to follow the steps. We need to clean really properly the aluminum first, and then we need to create the right surface for the glue to have a good bounding surface.
It needs to be rough, right?
It needs to be rough. Yeah, the problem is aluminum creates an oxidation layer really quick. So that means we need to work fast, because as soon as we grind, it starts creating an oxidation layer, and that oxidation layer is to protect the material itself, is to protect the aluminum from corroding more, but it doesn't adhere really well to paint and to glue and to anything. So ideally we take the oxidation layer out, create a rough surface and glue straight away, so it never creates this layer and we have a good bound. By the way, did you see the good job Roberta did? I don't know if you see.
It's not perfect yet, but we are getting there. Actually, when we see out of the camera, it seems good, but then we put the camera, we see like what?
Perfect. Yeah, so
Like spot.
while I've been preparing the frames, the spacers, I'm sorry for the helicopter.
So for 2 weeks, I guess, I've been working on sanding all these on the cockpit and all around the deck saloon.
And the reason for that is because we don't want to send that anymore.
Oh my gosh!
Helicopter trains.
Busy summer.
When the helicopter goes, the train passes by. So while Roberta been sanding all the surface, I've been preparing the spacers, and the reason for that is because once we have the glazing in place, we don't want to sand anything else. We don't want to make dust close to the glass. So we want the roof to be fully ready before we install the glazing. But now let's...
And actually, sanding all this gives us like hope that one day the boat's gonna be really nice.
Yeah, it gives a little bit. That's pretty good. But now let's focus on what we need to do, because otherwise we might make a mistake. So,
are you happy that you're gonna work with Sika today?
yeah.
And also this one.
Yeah, also this one. I'm back. Sika, I'm back. Now it's
Working
real.
again.
Now we are actually working on a boat. So the first step is to clean all the oxidation on the aluminum, including the hull. Like inside the hull, I want to have Sika between the screw, the bolt, and the aluminum. And I created this hull like 5 days ago. That means it has oxidation. So the first step is to re-drill them. Not drill, just like take the thin layer of oxidation. Next step, wire brush. Make sure to use a stainless steel one, because the carbon steel one leaves dust of steel on the aluminum, and that can create trouble in the future. So stainless steel is the one to go. And we need to wire brush the surface where we're gonna glue. So now at this moment, all the aluminum is free of contamination, is free of oxidation. The next step is to create a rough surface, because the wire brush leaves really polished, really slippery, and the Sika power won't attach well to that. By the way, we did a lot of tests. I mean, I can show you some of the tests, because Sika always say, before you do anything for real, run some tests to make sure that the substrate you're using actually works properly the way it should be. After a lot of force and some bending, we finally broke the glue. I mean, I finally broke the glue, but I strongly believe that's way more than enough for what I need. I mean, I put a lot of force. Imagine that I bent this 10mm plate this much. That's the amount of force I put on it. That means it can suffer a lot before it let go. We run so many tests along the last months, and we found out that anytime it's slippery, the Sika fails, because it's not meant to be glue like that. It's meant to have a rough surface. So the idea is to get the angle grinder with a really rough disc, that's a 36, and create a really rough surface, and then the glue is gonna be perfect. So the next step now is to properly clean the aluminum, because right now there is no oxidation, but there is a lot of dust from the grinding. So I'm gonna put a new glove on, because my glove is also contaminated from the tools and from everything. So now that everything is clean, it's time to start actually gluing the frame in place. And we're gonna use two different kinds of Sika. Sika 591, that is the multi-purpose polyurethane sealant that everyone knows. and this one is gonna be just for the screw, for the bolt to isolate from the aluminum. We are also gonna use Sika Power 880, and this one is the one that is gonna hold the frame in place, the spacer in place.
That's really nice. And there is this funny thing to use.
Yeah, it needs to be with an electrical or a pneumatic gun because it needs to mix both components together. So you have component A and B, and then the tip is where it mixes. There is a little thing inside the tip that it mixes, and that's pretty cool.
It's like a syringe. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Ah, that's
Mix is
nice.
right there. See, let's see. One more time. They say you need to try somewhere else just to see if it's gray because it needs to be really well mixed, and the first little bit you just discard just to make sure it's well mixed. And now we get to the
time.
job. It's time, finally. I've been preparing for this for like 2 weeks already, so I'm
More
ready.
than that. But psychologically for a while.
The first one is always the tricky one because we don't really know the amount. That's the test one. We are filming, instead of testing one and then filming a proper one, no, we're filming the test because we're just like, we're freestyle as usual.
And you're doing the test on the one that's gonna be on the aft of the boat, so there are gonna be like no waves and
Yeah, that means it's less exposed and that's easier to not create any problem. So this one supposedly goes here. Hopefully I got the right one. Otherwise you're in trouble. So we have a nylon washer, and then we have a stainless steel washer, and then we have the nut.
first one out of 8 is done.
Of course, I did a mess as usual. I always make a mess of Sika. A lot of professionals won't do a mess, but this was the experiment one. We didn't really know the amount of Sika that we would need, and I would rather have a little bit extra than not having enough behind and not having a proper bound. So there was a lot of squeeze, and that's good because I guarantee that there is Sika behind, but of course I did a lot of mess. Remember that this is gonna be Kiro, and then I'm gonna go with the angle grinder and grind everything again to give the right profile for the next kind of Sika. That's the one that's gonna glue the glass in place. Right now I took the excess, it's all just stains of Sika.
But how thick is gonna be the next one?
So the next one is gonna be 9.5 millimeters thick. So we have you're gonna see, but we have like a tape that goes in the inner part of the frame, and then that's a double side tape just to hold the window in position, and then next to the tape we have like a 9.5 millimeters thick by 16 millimeters wide bead of Sika, and then we glue in place, and then we seal with a different one around.
So
But-
the important thing is to have this corner really well cleaned, right?
Yeah, this face needs to be really clean, and also the inside face really clean, but this is going to be grind. Even if it was fully clean now, we will need to grind again because it's going to oxidate by the time we apply Sika, so we need to grind anyways. But of course, the more Sika we have, the more work we have in the future. So now we're going to wait for 24 hours for this to cure, and then I'm going to grind this one just to see the result, and then from there we go to the rest.
I think
right?
it's good.
Yeah. See you guys tomorrow
See
with
you.
a good result, hopefully. I couldn't help myself. I wanted to know if I ruined Roberta's work or not, but I think it's gonna be fine because of course I did a lot of stains around on the bulkhead that Roberta had all finished already, but it's all good. 40 grit sandpaper and we can take all off, but then again 60 and 80 to do the finishing, but we'll be okay. Now the next step is to sand around the frame, and here is where the glass is actually gonna be glued to, so this needs to be fresh, just like here. I also couldn't help myself off camera. I did a little bit of grinding here just to guarantee, because when I saw it I'm like, oh, is that gonna be possible? And it is possible. So there are two ways we could clean that. One is with the wire brush, the stainless steel wire brush, or with this sanding paper on the angle grinder. The problem of this one is that it takes material. This one just cleans, it doesn't take any aluminum, so it's better because before we glue the glazing we need to sand again. So every time we sand we lose a little bit of material, so I think it's better to clean with this one. And then when you're going to install the glazing, then we can sand and we lose a tiny little bit just to scratch the surface. So this one. So it's pretty much just patience, and it's gonna be clean as new.
So let's do the rest. And we have one more project done. Now we just need to install the glazing in place.
What matters is we're pretty much ready to take the floor of the deck house off. The reason for that is because we want to take the boat out without the floor. It's less weight. There is a lot of pallets inside and it's less moving parts inside the boat. We want to empty the boat before we move the boat out.
And we are moving the boat in a week.
Yeah, we are there, almost ready to move the boat out. That's pretty awesome. Tired, exhausted.
I'm tired of sanding. Look at what I'm done this week.
Yeah, that looks beautiful actually.
I'm starting here.
It's amazing how different the boat looks. The cockpit seems like it's much bigger,
Yeah,
it's so much
it's
brighter
true.
now. And all thanks to Roberta. She did it all by herself. I'm proud.
There is one important question missing on this episode, that is why we didn't install the glazing yet.
The truth is, there is one last project we need to do before we install the glazing. And that is the chain plates. The reason why you cannot install the glass before the chain plates is because the chain plates is right next to the glass and we are afraid of damaging the glass by sparkling or by heat, just hitting the plate and then reaching the glass. That would not be a good thing. I mean, it's possible, yes, but if we can do it before, it's much better. And the tricky part on that is that we could not find the right material for that, the aluminum for that project. That's one of the missing parts of the boat. We don't have the material. We need a 30 millimeters thick piece of aluminum that we don't have yet. Hopefully this week we're gonna manage to buy, and then the welder coming to do keel and rudders, hopefully he's gonna accept to also weld that, and then we're free to install the windows because I cannot wait to install these windows. Yeah, it's just gonna be like a really step forward. Like it's gonna be a game changer, because once we install windows and also the hatches, there's no rain inside the boat, and that makes a huge difference.
The boat's gonna be sealed.
Yeah, by the way,
The door is not.
these last 2 weeks, you have no idea the amount of things that happened here in the boatyard. We did so much. It's hard to keep up with the amount of things we do on the videos, because we need, I don't know, maybe the week to have 10 days, and then we could edit the videos. Otherwise, it's just we cannot keep up with the edit. But just to let you know, we are in a really good mood. We are working a lot. We had a lot done these past 2 weeks, and we're really, how do I say, like hopeful or not hopeful. We are
We can find a word later.
No, we see not just a little light in the end of the tunnel, we see a huge sun in the end of the tunnel. We see that this is gonna happen. A lot of people don't believe, but it will gonna happen. By the way, thanks so much for all the support on the last 2 weeks video.
Yeah.
That was just unbelievable.
No words actually.
Yes, it's unbelievable how the community, once they know you're in trouble, how people just, step up and be like, no, you need to do it, I want to support you, and that's just amazing. Of course, there are the bad comments saying you're crazy of going to the Caribbean, but it is what it is. There is no way, that's what people don't understand. That is a train that already passed, and we are already on the top of it. There is no way. We either need to jump off the train, that we're not going to do it, or we just need to stick with the plan and make it happen.
We are sticking with the plan, and we have a lot to do.
Yeah.
And we want to welcome on board our new patrons, because without them we couldn't keep moving actually.
Just to put in perspective, the first 7 months of this year we got 4 new patrons. On the first 48 hours of our last video we got over 40 patrons, and that's just like amazing.
And also all the super thanks and all the PayPal donations and the new members, all these. I have no words.
You don't know sometimes. You donate a tiny little $5 and you think like, oh, you cannot change much with 5. It can. Just to put in perspective, we had a huge expense that we had no idea we were going to have last week. We needed to transport queue and rudders from the south of France to here, and we got one of our patrons that said, I can drive for you, you just need to rent a van. But last minute to get a van, a big van that fits everything
in Europe, during summer,
we spent like 2,300 euros on the transport, and basically all the PayPal donations from the last video pay for at least half of that, and that is like so much help. Thank you so much. And for all the patrons and members, this week we're going to have another real-time update, because there is a lot we want to update you with. And for the main channel, really soon you're going to watch on the next videos. We have one more video. On the next video you're going to watch the boat coming out of the shed already.
But there is a lot more than that. We did a lot this week, but we are doing video for members also?
Yes, we're going to do one. We're not usually not. We're doing more for patrons, but this week specifically we're going to do one for members. But I want to show you something really cool, because you cannot tell, or maybe if you are really, if you see the difference on the light, you might tell. But
if you see that there is no floor here anymore.
I don't know if you see the floor. There's no floor. I mean, there are ceiling supports, but there is no floor. And when you see out of the porthole, where is the boat on the shed? The boat's not in the shed. So just before you say, oh, so you're behind real time, you're really far. No, that was like days ago. In the last 2 weeks, a lot has happened. A lot has happened. And this is filmed right before you're watching. So no, we're not behind real time, but we have great news. The boat's not in the shed. The extension doesn't exist anymore. That's our keel. That's our centerboard. That's our skag and rudder. And that means really soon we're gonna have a sailboat with rudders and keel, and that's just amazing.
We need one more help, if possible.
That's a really important one. Let me see. We need to see for that one. We need your help, and that's not money. That's actually more than money.
It's presence.
It's presence. We need your help in person. We are gonna be in Martinique sometime between I will be. Sometime between the 25th of November to the 25th of December. It's really hard to ask for someone's help when we don't even know what's the right date for the help, but it is what it is. We have this window of 1 month to be in Martinique. We don't know which date the boat is going to arrive, but once the boat arrives there, we need to figure things out. It might be just straightforward, go from the ship to the water, and from the water we motor to Grenada. It might mean that the engine is not fully installed yet. We need to tow to a mechanic. Luckily there is a mechanic in Martinique that is a floating ferry with a mechanic inside, so that means we could potentially drag the boat to this mechanic and get things done if necessary. He's married with a Brazilian, by the way. She's really cool. We met her before. That's a possibility. Or we might have to fix things. I don't know. But having support there would mean a lot. So
because Duca won't have galley, won't have anything on the boat.
Yeah, so basically If you're anchored in Martinique, in Le Marin in Martinique, you know, because if you go to Martinique, you'll be in Le Marin. So if you're anchored in Le Marin during this time and you want just someone to talk and to entertain, I'm a really good entertainer. We can talk about it.
And if you want to do some boat work.
And if you want to do some boat work, so basically, if you're around and you have a spare room and
Also-
there's a bed for me, I would love.
Also, if you are going from Grenada to Martinique around end of November,
Yeah,
you
we
could
arrive.
give a ride.
Yeah, we arrive in Grenada in the 22nd of November. That's the day we fly into
Yeah.
Grenada, and I need to find a way to go to Martinique. I can fly, but it's really complicated. You need to take a few flights to make to Martinique. Last case scenario, that's what I'm gonna do. But if you have a boat, let's say in Grenada, and you're gonna sail up north in these dates, I would love to be crew for you, and that would be awesome. And if you're coming south and you're in Martinique and you want to just buddy boat with us, that would be really awesome, because having a boat that has only engine that was never used before without a mast, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable, and knowing that there is another boat close by would mean the world, and that means we are gonna just motor during daylight and we're gonna anchor along the way in a few islands, and that means there is a place for us to eat. me
It
and a
was,
friend.
you and a friend.
Yeah, by the way, I didn't tell my friend that yet, but I'm gonna convince him to give a brand new sail for who helps us to sail south. If you're willing
If
to
you
buddy
have a
boat,
room for two,
yeah,
maybe it's even better.
you need to help us out. It's gonna be me and a friend. He has the possibility of giving a brand new sail to one of you guys. If you want to buddy boat south, you're gonna be a lucky winner of a brand new sail. You could choose which sail you want. You want a mainsail or you want a Genoa. He doesn't know that yet.
You're
But
giving gifts with not your hands.
I trust him. He's a
Your
cool guy.
friend's hand.
He's a really cool guy. He's gonna do that for us. So if you want to buddy boat with us, you even get a new sail. If
Now
he-
you need to convince them.
If I don't convince him, I'll find a way of giving you a brand new sail. Let's put it this way.
Okay.
Or maybe I find a way of convincing you that I cannot give you a new sail. We'll see.
Just
Or we'll see.
give some food and love for
Yeah, I mean,
little guy.
you understand what I mean. I need a ride north. If there's someone there to hang out during like a week, 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week, and then if someone is coming south.
Even if it's just one day.
Even if it's just one day, and that's it. So if you are in one of these situations, you just email us at outlifecrafting@gmail.com, and that will be really awesome.
Yeah.
But
I'm
no.
gonna stay with Ollie in Grenada.
Yeah, and then when we arrive in Grenada, you meet Roberta and Oli. Oli, by the way, is really fun. He can play guitar for you. He can entertain
He
also.
can play piano also.
He can play piano, he can play ukulele, and you have fun. But no, that's it.
Bye.
We see you in the next one. The next one is going to be a special one. The next one is the one that we take the extension of the shed out, we take the boat out, we lift the boat, we put in a new support, we level the boat, all of that in one episode.
In
2
one
weeks.
day, probably.
Yeah, that was like freaking.
It was crazy.
It was like no, it was like 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days, insanely busy and busy and busy, but we got it done, and we're moving forward. And we see you in the next one.
See you.
See you.